Bringing in right now the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Republican Congressman Ed Royce of California. Congressman, thanks very much for joining us. Do you think the Speaker has to worry about his tenure as Speaker of the House? Because there are some of your colleagues, maybe 50 of them, Republicans, who are not very happy with this.
But in the meantime, the thing to look at is that in the courts, the Republican position is winning. In the courts, the president's executive order has been challenged, and a federal judge has sided with a position that he's overextended. So I think from that standpoint, funding the Homeland Security Department and moving on, we fully understand why the Speaker has taken that position.
All right, let's talk about the Prime Minister's speech. Right. You were there, you applauded, you stood up, you liked what you heard clearly from the Prime Minister of Israel. The White House says he said nothing new and offered no real alternative to what Secretary Kerry is trying to achieve in Geneva.
And look, from the standpoint of the Prime Minister of Israel, he views this a little differently, probably, than the President of the United States. For him, it's an issue of the survival of Israel, because Israel right now has 100,000 missiles on its border that Iran have put there in the hands of Hezbollah.
100,000?
100,000 now.
You mean like Katyusha rockets?
No, I mean missiles and rockets. And it used to be about
Lebanon?
20,000.
Is that what you're talking about, Gaza?
This is in Lebanon. This is in Lebanon. If you have an additional in Gaza. And so these missiles and rockets have flooded in there. These are the intelligence estimates. And so in this kind of a situation, you can imagine, if you're an Israeli, looking at the duplicity that Iran has been involved in the past. It's been in the DNA over there in terms of their violation of other agreements. You're saying, where's the verification in this agreement? And the IAEA is backing this up. And
the International Atomic Energy Agency.
Exactly. They've asked 12 questions, and only part of one of those have been answered in terms of the 1,000 pages of documents they have about the development of a nuclear bomb.
But did you hear him offer an alternative to what the president is trying to achieve?
As I understand the alternative, it's what I and Eliot Engel, my ranking member on my committee, tried to do in the last session. We offered up a bill that would really lead, but to no other option except for Iran to either negotiate on this agreement or face an implosion of their economy. Because our sanctions bill, which passed 400 to 20, which was bipartisan, was held over in the Senate because the President of the United States said, no, do not allow that to come up.
But White House officials say you wouldn't get the support of the Europeans, the Russians, the Chinese to go ahead and enforce those kind of tougher sanctions.
But the reality is that because they need access to the international financial system, and because of the amount of influence the United States has in that, if we say to a country, as we did once to North Korea, you cannot be part of the international financial system, we will not participate in that, you can impose those types of sanctions. Now, it's uncomfortable on people, but when you're talking about a country that's developing a nuclear bomb, there you have a case for where you have to use this.
But in the case of North Korea, it didn't prevent North Korea from getting a bomb.
Because the State Department stepped in and lifted the sanctions, and that was what was so frustrating to the Treasury Department that put those sanctions in place. And it was Treasury that helped us develop, Stuart Levy at Treasury helped develop this concept. This is what should have been done. This is the alternative. And the President blocked it, and it's very unfortunate.
All right, I want you to stand by. We have a lot more to talk about, including Nancy Pelosi calling Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech an insult to the United States, condescension towards U.S. knowledge of what's going on, much more, with the Chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee when we come back. While attention is focused on the proposed nuclear deal with Iran and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's efforts to stop it, Iran's influence is clearly growing in Iraq, where it too is battling ISIS. The House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Ed Royce is standing by. But let's go to our Pentagon correspondent, Barbara Starr. She has more on this part of the story. Barbara?
Wolf, this is now a case of a Iranian-backed Shia group working to try and take back a Sunni town from ISIS control, and another move that the U.S. is watching of Iran indeed exerting its influence. A dramatic effort to stop a suicide bomber near Tikrit, part of what Iraqi forces here are battling in an effort to take back the city. The The U.S. is on the sidelines. Iraqi Prime Minister Abadi did not ask the Americans for help, Pentagon officials say. But front and center, Iran.
They have big interest in the outcome of things in Iraq. They very much have consistently wanted a Shia-friendly government that they can influence in Baghdad.
The Iranian Fars news agency reporting Qasem Soleimani, the commander of Iran's elite Quds force, is in Iraq overseeing the Tikrit operation. Iran providing weapons to fight ISIS, raising questions if the U.S. is countering Tehran's growing influence inside Iraq.
Absolute knowledge of what their intent is not always there, but clearly we have very good intelligence services, and we have good overhead imagery and those types of things. So the activity in Tikrit was no surprise.
But what does worry the U.S., Wolf, is if those Iraqi forces backed by Iran, these Shia forces, go into Tikrit really heavy in a very violent manner and alienate the Sunnis in the town, it may be very difficult to break that Sunni link with ISIS, and that is going to cause huge problems in trying to defeat ISIS across Iraq. It is something that has seriously caught the Pentagon's attention.
Yeah, it's
Wolf?
a deeply concerning development. Barbara, thank you. We're back with the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Republican Congressman Ed Royce of California. How involved is Iran in Iraq right now?
Well, obviously, with the Quds forces on the ground in Iraq, and especially with General Soleimani, this is the general, by the way, in charge of Quds forces who in the past was found to be involved in the effort to carry out an assassination attempt against the ambassador from Saudi Arabia to the United States.
Here in Washington.
Here in Washington. This is an individual.
But you're sure that Soleimani directly ordered that assassination attempt?
I'm certain that he, as general of Quds forces, would have some knowledge of the activities that Quds forces have been involved in. And this is not one isolated case. Look at the Quds forces involved, in Syria. Look at their involvement in Yemen. Look at their involvement in Lebanon with Hezbollah. I mean, this is a very dangerous development to have Iran continue to spread its influence, especially with the recent overthrow of the government in Yemen, which was an ally of the United States and is now an ally.
And you still want, correct me if I'm wrong, this proposed authorization for the U.S. military, use of military force, not only to be authorized to go against ISIS, but also potentially against Iran?
No, I do not think that we would be able to, Wolf, get legislation through.
You don't think you have the support in Congress?
We would not be able to do that, and I'm not sure that that would be beneficial to our end goal here in terms of trying to get a bipartisan initiative behind the effort to push back ISIS. But there is no doubt that this problem of Iran's undermining governments around the region and continuing to take control of various territories is a very problematic thing. So you really have, the Islamists running the caliphate in ISIS, and then you have this other group of Islamists with their Islamic revolution in Iran. And they are competing against each other. But on the other hand, they both have very hostile designs, as they say, against the little Satan, Israel, and the great Satan, the United States.
Let me wrap up with Nancy Pelosi. She angrily reacted to the Prime Minister's speech, Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech. In a statement, she said it was an insult. She was saddened because it was an insult to the intelligence of the United States, and she also called it condescension toward our knowledge of the threat posed by Iran. Your reaction to Nancy Pelosi, she's the leader of the Democrats, the minority leader in the House. Your reaction to what she said about Netanyahu's speech?
My thought on all of this has been that rather than the ruffled feathers here, we should be focused. We should be focused on the issue of Iran's attempt to obtain a nuclear weapon. And an honest discussion about that subject was frankly advanced by hearing from the Prime Minister of Israel. Without his being here, I'm not sure the American public would understand all of the ramifications of Iran's efforts or the fact that this agreement will expire after 10 years. And at that point, we are going to treat Iran as though it's the Netherlands, and it will be on the cusp of having the capability of breaking out with maybe 160,000 centrifuges. That is what the Ayatollah has called for. I mean, at that point, He could take those ICBMs, which are not part of the agreement, which they are developing, and he would have the capability of putting atomic warheads on those ICBMs. And this is the very real question of why we want a stronger leverage on Iran in this negotiation in order to get a verifiable agreement.
Chairman Royce, thanks very much for coming in. Ed Royce is the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee.